Доброго вечора, доброго ранку. Дорогі студенти, ми починаємо наше заняття. Сьогодні у нас останнє заняття лекційне, і я передаю слово нашому шановному лектору. Сподіваюся, що все чути, перекладачам все також чути, і все працює.
Хочемо також привітати і наших студентів, і Ітана з нашим професійним праздником. Сьогодні в Україні відмічають День психолога-психотерапевта, тому бажаємо всім професійного розвитку, наснаги і всього найкращого.
Oh, great. Good to see everybody and happy to be talking to you all on a day that acknowledges your hard work and dedication to our field. Excellent. So today is going to be two parts. The first part, I'm going to focus on talking about how to apply some of the concepts of structural family therapy to work with families that are impacted by military involvement, by separation, by war, etc. Something that you all unfortunately have a lot of experience in. And I want to and that won't be I'll spend about 25 minutes, something like that, on that topic. And then I will show another videotape. Let's see. Okay, so let me pull up my notes. Oh, and while I am talking about the military families, I will share with you some resources, books and articles, places to go for more education around structural family therapy. Let's see if I can do that. Finally through. Okay. Share screen here. Here we go. Okay. This is all in English, but I have no idea what could be translated or what might be translated into other languages. There are a lot of Mnuchin's work actually is translated into Spanish, because he and some of his early collaborators came from Spanish-speaking parts of the world. And I also put my email at the bottom, and I welcome anybody to send any questions or thoughts, or if you have questions about future recommendations on how to continue learning the work, happy to field those questions as well, the best that I can. Okay. So let me go into applying SFT to family systems that are disrupted by one or more members that are drafted for military service or separated by military or involvement in war. And that could mean families that are displaced, that need to evacuate, the city that they're in, the town that they live, and go to another area or even go to another country. And so an interesting story, I told you all about my brother-in-law and his family that lived in Ukraine and Kiev for 10 years and evacuated, and they had a dog that they weren't able to take with them. And somehow the dog was taken care of by I don't know if it was a nanny that they were working with or um, somebody, a local Ukrainian who was close with the family, took care of the dog and was somehow able to bring the dog to Poland, where my brother-in-law then went um, to be reunited with the dog. And I was very surprised that that happened. It was a lovely little story. Um, so, anyways, I think it's really important. So I want to be clear about like, because as somebody who um, I don't have a personal history in the military. Um, and I've worked tangentially with people who have been involved in the United States military, but I've not worked directly for like a Veterans Administration or things like that. Um, uh, so I will do my best to come up with ideas that I think could be useful to you all. Um, The first thing that kind of stands out to me is um, the difference between like a social worker or a therapist in the United States who might be working with a family that has been involved in military service. Usually, the military service that the United States is involved in is outside of the United States. Very rarely is it part of the United States, meaning it's not often that the United States gets attacked. It's not so um, even that is a different framework for the therapists who work with military families. Unless you've been in the military, you might not have this a similar experience or a way to really be empathetically attuned to the military family's direct experience. But I think that's different from those of you that are living in Ukraine that are also experiencing, even if you're not in the military, you're much closer to all the impacts that military families and soldiers experience. And so I think it's really important to acknowledge that. And the only comparison that I can kind of make is right after 9/11 in the United States, after the terrorist attack on the Twin Towers and then a couple other places in the United States, um, where there was a collective feeling of being in a state of uncertainty and a state of shock. And so even the therapists who were working with people that might have been in the Twin Towers that day and had to run for their lives, those therapists could empathize in a different kind of way, which which I think you all can. All right. So I think the first issue that I want to talk about is restoring family roles and relationships during and after separation. And the key point that I want to discuss is the importance of understand like of empathy, empathy for um, the soldier who's fighting in a war um, that can fracture their own relationship and connection to their partners, their spouses, their children, other family members, friends. And it also fractures, I think, their relationship to um, themselves in some way. The self that was pre-war is different than the self that is in the war. And so I think when we can help people that are have family members that are involved in the military is to really hold that understanding of the feelings of disconnection. Um, and in addition to a service member might bring home with them if they return home, whether it's a brief um, coming back from the front lines or if it's a being discharged from the military. Um, they might come home with them and bring things like PTSD, issues around substance use, uh, anxiety, panic disorders, depression. Um, and what I think is interesting is that coming home, even though there might be a feeling of relief or temporary relief, for some of these soldiers, there it can feel like a loss in a certain way. They're no longer with their close unit of comrades. They're missing their comrades. Maybe they're feeling guilty for making it home alive when close friends died. They could be mourning the loss of friends and comrades. Um, and so remembering that war involves actual loss and then the constant threat of loss. Um, and so when soldiers return, maybe it's hard for them to feel like they can rely on others that don't know their experience. Maybe if a soldier has been away for some time, the roles in the family, if they were a parent, a sibling, and they had before they left to go into the service, they um, were the ones who were the primary nurturer for their children or the primary breadwinner for their family. But when they leave, these roles change. And then all of a sudden, when they come back, depending upon the amount of time they've been away, other people in the family might have taken up some of these roles. And so when a soldier comes back, the feeling of being out of place in a way, or what is my what is my value? What is my purpose? What um, if I, if somebody else is doing these things that I used to do? And so that's a point of tension and complication that I think is important to really be attuned to and alert to. And the main tip that I would have for re-entry, on both the soldier's part as well as the family that's welcoming the soldier back home, is to really, really go slow. Um, and that to help family members know that it's normal for this process of coming back together, reuniting, to feel awkward, even, especially if there's been an extended amount of time, like several years away. And even when during that time away, maybe there is contact, video contact, or telephone, or but it's not the same as the in-person. Um, um, so in making sure that we go slow, and normalizing the fact that it can feel really challenging to come home and to reintegrate. Um, some of the and I think some of you mentioned in some of the questions around having a soldier come home and maybe feeling really withdrawn and distant and disconnected from other family members, like they're shutting down. Um, and then how did the family respond to the service member who is shutting down and distant and kind of withdrawing into their own little world? And who knows, maybe drinking more, maybe more into other substances, maybe playing more video games. So I think it's important to recognize that the person who's coming back from the front lines, or even if they're not on the direct front lines, but they're involved in the war in some way, that there are some underlying reasons that lead to this emotional distancing that family members then react to. So, for instance, uh, oh, sorry. Yes, so I don't have slides for the what I'm talking about right now. So I could leave up the or you know what, I will stop sharing so that you can actually see my face. And then later on we can put that slide up. Um, but I do need to get to my notes. Where did I put my notes? There we go. Okay. Um, let's see. Um, okay, so some of the emotional um understandings that could help family members navigate the feelings of disconnection when they come home. Um, and I like to use reframes here. So imagine a soldier who comes home and it appears as if he or she is hiding from other family members. Well, and you might feel, and they might feel, um, not only did they leave and go to the war, but now that they're home, why are they not connecting to me? Why are they not um, interacting with their kids, with their spouses?
Ми
Um,
перепрошуємо, Ітан, вибачте. Анна і
yeah.
Ганна, у вас два переклади, ви зараз вдвоє перекладаєте.
Ah, okay. Should I wait? Ah. Okay, great. No worries. Okay. Um, okay, so reframing a soldier's withdrawing. Maybe he or she feels that they will somehow infect family members with the horrific things that they saw or did or felt while they were at war. So their shutting down may be a way to protect their family members from these awful things that they encountered. Um, they also might worry that maybe they would no longer be loved or valued or respected if their family knew the things that happened, that the things that they did when they were um, on the front lines in active war. And so those thoughts, those feelings that the soldiers might be having, it would make sense why they would then hide or withdraw more into themselves. They also might shut down as a way to avoid losing control. You know, it's very common for human beings to feel like in some ways it's easier to bury our feelings than to let them out. And they might worry, what if I cannot stop uh, crying? Um, they also might feel embarrassed or humiliated by their feelings. They might be afraid to look weak. After all, they're a tough military guy. They don't cry, and maybe that was the culture of the military, but maybe that was also the culture of their family of origin that they grew up in, that you don't show emotions and that, or that showing certain emotions aside from anger is a sign of weakness. Um, so helping reframing for the family members that are uh, reacting to their loved one, their military loved ones shutting down, I think can be helpful. Um, a few thoughts on helping a military couple or a couple that one person is in the military, the other person is at home with the kids, ideas on helping them to reconnect. Um, so you want to empathize and help a spouse who maybe has feelings of hurt, anger, betrayal, that their loved one went away, but still be able to listen and be open to the soldier who's returning in a way that communicates acceptance. So, no matter what you did, I know what you did was for an important reason, and I still love you, and I still accept all parts of you. Um, and similarly, you want to help the soldier understand that their spouses might feel hurt, angry, and maybe their feelings of betrayal and hurt and anxiety is more general about the war. But they're then taking those feelings and putting them onto the soldier. So it's helpful to, our work is to try to get people to slow down and understand their own feelings, and then help the other person try to understand where each is coming from. Um, so some ideas on setting the stage for more supportive conversations. When I say supportive conversations, it's important for part of reentry is it is helping the soldier and the family, because there are these, the soldier has their life that was in the war that the family doesn't uh, get to see. And then the family has their day-to-day life that the soldier isn't necessarily privy to. And so how do you reintegrate those two distinct worlds? And part of it is facilitating conversations between the military service members who are returning and their loved ones and family members. Um, so like I said, beginning slowly. One might encourage a soldier to demonstrate interest in the things that he or she missed when they were away, learning about the different things that happened in their family, both the good things and the challenges that their family faced. And encouraging the soldier to elicit that develops trust and establishes a little more closeness. It's also important for the soldier who's coming back to be clear about how they would like their spouse or loved one or family member to respond to them when they are sharing really difficult, sensitive information. So it's basically like, I have some difficult things to talk about that are hard for me to hold, and part of me is worried that it will be too much for you to handle. And so it would be helpful for me, if you let me know what you can and what you can't hear. Um, so that in doing that, not only are you slowing down the interaction, but you are having people um, reflect on what they think will be helpful in this very difficult process. And just that action can be quite useful. Um, let's see. So the last part that I will talk about is reconnecting with children. Um, so uh, for certain soldiers and military personnel, um, they might leave at important developmental times in their children's lives, and they might miss uh, big developments. Um, and they might, so for instance, like very young children, they might not, they might hardly even know their parent except through pictures or video chats, etc. Um, and when this person comes home, I mean, let's say a soldier leaves when their child is 6 months old. Is that child who now is 2 years old going to even recognize the parent, or really have a sense of who that parent is? And so it could almost be like a reintroduction, um, and helping family members understand to really not take this so personally, but there's going to be growing pains. Um, and um, let's say a child moves into teenage years and all of a sudden a father comes back and his little girl is now wearing makeup or something. Uh, and that throws him and he's confused and like, who is this sullen, irritable teenager now that doesn't want to spend time with me? And that father's response might be to get angry, to shut down, to lash out. Um, and underneath that anger is shame and embarrassment, and also fear that maybe I won't ever be able to recover or establish a relationship with my child. Um, so it's super important when a parent is coming back after being disconnected from their children or child for a period of time, for them to be aligned with the other parent or other caregiver, who's been with the kids this whole time that they've been away, and that they can work together, to try to uh, reconnect and reunite. Um, it's an opportunity for families to have conversations with each other, to tell each other about things that maybe they missed, to tell each other about difficult feelings that happened, or um, and so the key in this effort is to really help our clients understand that these things, the reintegration takes a lot of time. It's important to go slow. Um, and reframing uh, behaviors like withdrawing or angry behaviors as ways of trying to deal with really difficult, uncomfortable feelings and emotions. Um, and that there's a lot of uncertainty. Okay. So I hope that helped a little bit to stimulate some of our thinking around how to be useful and helpful to families who are affected by war. Now what I am going to do is go to the video, and I think I set it up so that it is a little slower, so that the interpretation will be easier to do. Here we go. Okay, go there. Now, let's see. Zoom. Let's share screen. Okay. So here we go. Okay. So let me set this up, I guess, before I start sharing the video. So this is a consultation that Minuchin did with a family of three. It's two parents and a teenager. And this is a family that is impacted by substance use, by psychosis, and by school avoidance. So the mom in this family has a history of psychotic episodes and being hospitalized. And there's been conflict between her and dad. And when he gets stressed and overwhelmed, his tendency is to withdraw and to drink. And then the teenager has gotten kind of wrapped up into their dynamic and conflict. And the problem that is showing, or the symptom that is showing up in her, is not going to school. So what I like about this video is that we have three pretty severe symptoms: psychosis, alcohol use or abuse, and avoiding school. And Minuchin will show how he reframes and the map that he sees in this family. And part of the work, you'll see him providing consultation to the therapists that works with the family. So they'll show some of the videotape is of that consultation, and then some of the videotape is of him actually meeting with the family. And so on the video itself, you'll see the teenager is kind of off to the side, and the parents are sitting closer together. The teenager is off, I think, to the left as you're looking at the video. Dad is in the middle. The mom is next to him. And then I think the mom's therapist, or the therapist that's worked with the family, is next to mom. Okay, so let me start and roll tape. Here we go. 0.8.
Will illustrate one way in which a systems-oriented therapist might treat a family, one of whose members displays psychotic symptomatology. The tape is based on two consultations that Dr. Salvador Minuchin had with the family being treated by Margaret Meskill, one of his students.
Okay, so this is a 45, mid-40s couple. In this tape, when they come in, they'll be a family. They have lots of symptoms. You know,
Shoot.
they haven't had
Sorry.
sex in 9 years. She keeps going into hospitals and coming out again, and he falls apart when she goes in and drinks. And
Stop.
trouble with their dog.
Uh-oh.
You know, I
Let me turn off the video.
what the couple says.
Sorry about that. This is my I'm very challenged technically. I was trying to pause to see if the volume was good enough for the interpreter. How was it? Okay, because I think last time I did something in the settings, I think in the Zoom settings um to make it better, but I can't remember exactly what it was that I did in show captions, transcript, the audio. There was something in the audio that I thought I did. So let me go back. Sorry about that. Okay.
My symptoms, so this is a
Okay. Where is okay. Now I'm having trouble pulling up the documents, screens. There we go. Okay.
45, mid-40s couple. In this tape, when they come in, they'll be a family. They have lots of symptoms. You know, they haven't had sex in 9 years. She keeps going into hospitals and coming out again, and he falls apart when she goes in and drinks. And parenting issues, they have a lot of trouble with their daughter. Symptoms when she goes to the I'm not around, but according to what the couple says, her symptoms are his. Hers. Well, this time she started slashing her arm. That seems like that isn't something she always does, but she hears voices and starts yelling at people and acts crazy. She is with you. Yeah. She looks crazy. She sounds crazy. She sounded a little off sometimes, but she's very high functioning for a psychiatric client. You know, she doesn't present that way. No, she presents fine.
In making his first supervisory comments on the case, Dr. Mnuchin responded to a segment of the taped session presented by the therapist in which Hector was angrily complaining to Angela about the negative effects her out-of-control behavior was having on him and Danielle.
Francis, this man had talked and he had done something nice there, saying, listen, your symptoms are not psychiatric. Your symptoms are directed at me. It is, he made the symptom very much interpersonal.
Dr. Mnuchin likes Hector's interpersonal framing of Angela's psychotic symptoms because it is congruent with his own systemic view of the family. As a systems thinker, Dr. Mnuchin sees the family members as inextricably interconnected with each other. He also sees their symptoms as interconnected. Because they are mesmerized by their symptoms, the family members do not see the connections. The task of therapy is to make the connections explicit. As family members explore their connections with each other, they become empowered to activate alternative, more satisfying patterns of connectedness. The activation of these new patterns expands family members' experience of themselves, which in turn diminishes their experience of being at the mercy of their symptoms.
So we're in a regrouping place, and I wondered what, maybe you want to start and say something about what your thoughts are about having Danielle join us and what you want to get done.
Well, I thought it was necessary for Danielle to participate in the family therapy because she's having such a hard time in school. At the moment, she's not in school. I don't know what to do with her now. I mean, in the past, Danielle and I used to butt heads all the time. We were constantly fighting to the point where the police had to come to the house. That much fighting, but that stopped. Danielle and I are getting along much better. But I don't know what to do with her with school. I can't get her in school. She's having too much trouble in regular school. The main problem is that her mind races so much that she can't.
Your mother says your mind races. Where does it go?
No, I can't concentrate.
The family's assertion of a focus on Danielle's school problems provided Dr. Mnuchin with his first task of the session. He must find a way to connect Danielle's problems to the parents' symptoms. A passing reference made by Angela to her hospitalizations will provide Mnuchin with the opportunity to begin laying the foundations for the construction of such a connection.
So Danielle has gotten into the habit of not being in school, and that's why she has gotten so far behind.
And why is that? How did that happen? How is the Danielle did not go to school and you did not know?
Well, she would leave the house like she was going. She wasn't, and then she would come home at 3:30, like she was supposed to at the end of the day. Where she went during the day, I don't know.
She was hungry, she was going to bed.
Yeah, I was going to a hospital, so I was not home during the day, so. And if there were days that I did decide to stay home, she would leave, but, there was one time when I did catch her cutting. And I caught her cutting again in high school.
She would go to grandma's house also. Why did you go to the hospital? You seem very well put together.
Well, I feel very well put together now. I wasn't so put together before.
Hmm?
I've been in and out of hospital since the age of 13, and in a couple of state institutions.
Why?
Well, as a child, I was put in by my family. I guess became.
I'm surprised you seem such a bright and steady lady.
Well, there are bright people in hospitals too. I've met a lot of bright people, you know. It's just certain times, certain things would happen to me.
Dr. Minuchin will now invite family members to describe the events that lead up to Angela's hospitalizations. As you listen to the descriptions offered by the various family members, note the significant difference between Danielle's framing of the events and her parents' framing.
When your mom goes to the state hospitals, how does she look like to you?
I don't see them.
Eh?
I don't see them.
Than before? And assume that when she goes to the hospital, it's because she's not feeling good. Because as she looks now, I would guess that she went to the hospital. Is she different?
Sometimes.
How different is she? What does she look like when she is not feeling well?
I don't know, she just gets cranky.
She's what?
Cranky.
Cranky?
She gets,
It happened. Do people go to the hospital because they are cranky? My goodness, I have been cranky.
She doesn't look sick when she goes.
Eh?
She doesn't look sick when she goes.
She doesn't look sick. So she looks just angry.
No, she just gets bitchy.
Yeah. She looks bitchy and she's short-tempered. Help me to understand, because you see, I am confused. I see your mother here. So, and she tells me something that seems strange to me. And see, I really don't know how you behave when you go, because if you come to me, I am a psychiatrist, and you're like that, and you suddenly want to go to hospital, I would say.
I just want to go on some.
So you must be different.
Yes.
And can you tell me, or can you tell me, or can you both tell me in different ways what's happening when you're like,
and I usually know when she's going to go to the hospital because usually there's issue of the temper, her sleeping is off, she forgets,
The voices get, but I hear voices.
Yeah, she has voices. And normally she doesn't tell me this, but I say, you okay, and she said, no, but, and then she's really hearing that she'll be very irritable, and she becomes very irritable and defensive. Okay, she's hearing voices, and then I start looking for the patterns. And then I said, oh, she'll be
does she look, when she acts like that, that she looks to you as if she is crazy, as if she's irrational, or just she is short of temper and cranky?
It's the way she's faking.
See, do you have two mothers? One that is nice and understanding, and one that is bitchy and cranky and irrational. And you get met with the irrational, cranky and bitchy. I'm asking because I don't know. You know, because maybe when your mother is cranky and bitchy, she is quite a. Is she pain for you when she gets like that?
When she gets like that, it's like I already have her already, I already know. It's like so private, like I know, well, she's acting the same because she's already going into an episode.
While her parents portray Angela's hospitalizations as brought on by phenomena that are crazy and beyond control, Danielle insists on explanations that are normalizing and interpersonal. Mnuchin's observation of this, as well as of Danielle's protective attitude toward her mother, leads him to the following reframe, which connects Danielle's school problems to her parents' problems.
Tell me something. So you had seen Miss Zagara when she gets paranoid schizophrenic or borderline psychotic or whatever term they call it.
Cranky. Yeah,
It's cranky word.
I think it's a good word.
Yeah. And can she hear you when she's like that?
With a fight,
Yeah.
with a lot of work.
Good fighter.
Yes, we fight well.
Uh-huh. Do you think that Daniela sometimes, you think that Daniela's fighting can be useful?
I think so.
Do you think that she knows that she was helpful to mother? See, children do sometimes wonderful things without knowing.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Danielle was one of the reasons why I started turning around and started trying to pull myself more together.
she seems very protective for you.
Yes.
Would you be a nurse?
Really?
Yeah. Do you think? Because I think you are a nurse. So I want to know if you will be a nurse. At this point, you have only one patient. That is your mom. Who is-
What do you mean by being a nurse?
Well, I think she is a nurse. I think she grew up to be a nurse. And then she starts training in you. And then maybe she will train on somebody else. Or do you sometimes are protective of your dad also?
Mm,
So you have to work. When your mom,
when I think of how stupid she's been,
how,
sometimes,
how stupid she is,
yeah,
in what way?
letting mommy do all that stuff she did right in front of him and just sitting there. I think that's stupid. I would have done that.
I don't think you should have reacted.
He needs to be harder with his reaction.
Uh, uh, and do you think that that you can help him to become stronger or harsher or more reactive? Had you talked with him about that?
I did when I used to scream and get mad now, and I would say he's such a jerk because he lets her get do it. He stands right there and lets her.
Uh-huh.
And if I would yell at him, that never did anything.
And is he a good patient or not?
Is he a good patient?
Yeah. Yeah, yes, I think that you are a budding psychotherapist, and I just, you will be a colleague, and I am interested in your work with her. I am a teacher of family therapist. You start early.
No.
Oh, okay. You know, it's very nice. Danielle is a very nice person and a very protective person, and she had a hell of a difficult life because she had a mom that was in and out of the hospital, and that now what is mystical and did not respond. So she tried to help both of you. And if you are busy trying to make your mother a person and make your father a helper, then I don't think that you can have too much energy to study. No, you have a full-time job as a nurse.
In portraying Danielle as her parents' nurse, Dr. Mnuchin has succeeded in connecting Danielle's symptoms to her parents. There remains the task of connecting the parents' symptoms to each other. Mnuchin devotes the closing minutes of the session to this task.
And besides doing Mrs. Ayala, the hospital calls you with some label, what's the label that they gave you? Your name is Mrs. Ayala, but what is
The label was paranoid schizophrenic,
is that
something, some kind of behavioral borderline thing. I don't know.
borderline?
Right.
Is a significant thing? Schizophrenic or borderline,
Something else.
something else.
I don't know.
Well, one is psychotic or something like that. Most of guys said that too, when I looked at her together.
What would you say if you need to say, if you would need to describe your wife to me and in 2-3 words, what would you say I would tell?
No, I'm sorry, I lost that.
If you need to describe your wife, I had not seen her. You see, she seated here and I hear her talking. Everywhere she's a bright lady and she tells me things that don't make sense, right?
Yes,
So all her life she has been in and out of hospital, and then so I'm confused. So can you tell me something about her so that I will be less confused? Describe to me how she is with you.
How she was me,
As a person,
as a person,
as a right.
why she's attentive, she's sensitive, you know, she because she's good to talk, she's intelligent, so it's not like you're talking to a moron, so that's a blessing. You know, she's she's organized, she thinks straight. I tend to be more like, well, let's say I tend to be like modest and mystical. Well, let's look at it from this angle. I just feel like, well, this is the way it is, and she's more
Let me say
more
that
grounded.
if you would need to describe your husband to me, how would you describe? I am impressed with how many nice things your husband says about you. How would you describe him?
Loving, hardworking, sensitive.
Do you think he contributes sometimes to you going to the hospital?
Not really, no. Smelling.
If you hedged, then
Recently, it has been his drinking, but he's not drinking now.
one of the things that you probably, when begin to look with his family, is, see, this is a family of good people. But some of the things that they do are not good. Uh, but since it's a family of good people that believe in love and they believe in good things, they don't know how they take each other. They don't know clearly because the most important thing for them is love and protection. So I think that Mrs. Ayala is sometimes triggered by her husband, and that Mr. Ayala is sometimes, you see, I think in strange ways. I think that you're drinking, it's not because you're a drunkard, but it has to do with stresses in the family. And I think that when you go to crack, or you go to heroin, or you go to the hospital, you're escaping from your husband. Now, I am a strange guy, I think so like that, I have strange ways of thinking. So, if you want to be helpful and unstuck, you will need to work with these people in terms of what they do to each other. And it will be difficult because they don't know. You see, he would, Mr. Ayala will need to help you to know, and Manuela will help you, when Mrs. Ayala does something that kicks him off and he does not respond. Daniela will know, but he will also know. And I think that this is a very nice family. I think it's a family that is in a tough spot because they are new. He is dry and she's out of the hospital. See, I think that you don't know how to behave in the spot in which you are now, in which you have decided that you have a place in this family and that you will not run away from the family. And I don't think that you know how to relate with a wife. as if she's healthy. So that when she becomes a pain in the ass,
That's part of the utilization. I know.
you're sick, but you're a pain in the ass. You know, when you are a pain in the ass, he says you're crazy. Instead of saying, hey, wait a moment, my dear. Stop that nonsense. And then you feel that he's not doing his job. So it's really useful. Okay?
Okay.
By reframing Hector's drinking and Angela's hospitalizations as the means by which they escape from each other in order to avoid conflict and stress, Mnuchin has completed the therapeutic task of constructing a frame that connects the family members to each other. The second consultation session occurred 3 months after the first. Angela's individual therapist participated in this consultation, as well as in the pre-session discussion.
Angela was taking care of Hector, who had an accident. You know, I think people here know that he was in a car accident. Okay, he was in a terrible car accident, and then what happened was Angela started taking care of him, which was a shift instead of him taking care of her, and then she became overwhelmed by it and went into the hospital.
Dr. Mnuchin opened the second consultation by chatting with the family members about the effects of Hector's accident on the family's life.
You had the accident and everything.
So it's just funny guy. Well, the accident kind of intruded a bit. It disrupted things. You know, it really made an impact more on my wife, I think, me.
How so?
Because she suppressed her feelings about what happened. And when
Well, actually, it was the first time I felt that I had to be totally responsible and had no one to fall on to. You know, if things got difficult, I could say, oh, Hector, I can't handle it. Do it for me. This time there was no Hector, do it for me. It was me, do it for myself. And I was the super person. And I kept on going and just kept on doing what I had to do. And taking care of Danielle and taking care of Hector. For a while, when Hector was very sick, I took care of everything. I was taking care of everything.
Are you good at that?
Well, I found that I was.
Angela, I have a problem. And you will need to help. The problem is, like last time, that I cannot jive your competence with you going to the hospital. You see, you are a very competent lady. I am impressed with your intelligence and in areas of difficulty you can manage. And so that and the hospital just don't help me.
Put it this way. I'm not used to being able to function or
You are.
just let me finish saying what I'm saying. I've always been told from a very young age I can't. And for a long time I believed them. I do have problems with voices on and off that really make it very difficult for me to function at times. majority of the time, I can function a lot better than I thought I could. At least I'm starting to see that in the past year or two. Um, at times, I really cannot do a damn thing. I get so out of hand that I can't think straight. Lots of times I can't hear what other people are saying around me because I'm hearing everything else.
Angela's narrative of competence in the aftermath of Hector's accident and the incongruity between that competence and her pattern of repeated hospitalization has led Dr. Mnuchin to focus early in this session on Angela's psychotic symptoms. Mnuchin has thus entered the family differently during this session than he did during the first, through Angela rather than through Danielle. Mnuchin's goal for this session is the same one he had for the first, namely to help family members explore their interconnectedness. However, since he has entered the family differently, the process by which this goal is accomplished will be a very different one. Dr. Mnuchin has entered the family through the portal of Angela's voices. At this point in the session, the family frames these voices as belonging only to Angela. To pursue his goal of highlighting interconnectedness, Mnuchin will have to spread the voices around, so to speak. Watch as he begins to do this.
Tell me something about your voices. How many voices are there?
Sometimes it's one, sometimes it's several, sometimes it seems like the whole world's talking to me at once and I just want to scream.
Are the voices male or female?
Well, mostly female,
Mostly female.
yeah.
What do they say?
They tell me, what kind of a person I am.
And what kind of person are you?
I really don't want to get too much into
According to the voices, you see, I think that these voices are important, so I want to know.
yeah, but it's something I don't really discuss so much around in front of my daughter. It's something I don't want to.
Mhm.
It's something I've never really done.
Let's find out if she knows about your voices or
She
not.
knows so much about her, like, I want to understand what voices are to the side of your voice. And
You see, man,
yeah.
I think that it's important to understand voices because I have voice. I think we all have voice. And some people hear voices as significant thoughts, and some people hear voices as if they come from outside. Some people hear voices as if they come from inside. We all have voice. It's not just your mom. I have voices, you have voice. Even she has.
I have voices.
So the question is, and we listen for our voices, and the voices tell us things. But your mom hears the voices as if they come from outside. Is that correct? So she has the skill or the disability of hearing these voices that I hear as inner voices, as if they are outside voices. And and so the voices tell the things that she really knows, because you also have the same content of your voices outside in your feelings inside. If the voices say to you you are shitty, then it is because sometimes your inner thought said you're shitty. Shit. Huh? Shit. Yeah, you know, we all are like that. So when I am saying what do the voices tell me?
Well, sometimes they tell me to do things to myself.
Oh,
Sometimes I can not listen to them, and sometimes I listen to
they're
them.
about.
Yeah.
Mhm. And when they said to do things to yourself is to help yourself.
Yes.
Because you're worthless.
Right.
Dr. Mnuchin's normalizing assertion that we all have voices has begun to spread the voices around and to call into question Angela's sole ownership of the voices. While this intervention has increased Angela's willingness to talk about the voices, it is too global to serve as the foundation for a detailed exploration of Hector and Angela's interconnectedness. Therefore, Mnuchin must now find a way to describe more idiosyncratically how Hector participates in Angela's hearing of voices.
And how can you help these voices? You see, voices can be tamed, but they need help. Other voices, does your wife ever hear your voices when she is hearing voices? Do you know?
Yeah,
It's about the voices there.
and she's never, my voice is never part of her
Never
voice.
fun from everything.
Well, and the only way that it's part is where it's a positive influence to push the negative voices out. When they tell you to do negative things, she'll, what I've told her over the years, because of the voices, is if they come
Now this,
to talk to me,
do you hear his voices also? No. No. His voice is, I think his voice is too soft. I don't think his voice is strong enough, to fight your voices, you need another voice that is at least as strong. And you speak so softly. Yeah. Do you think your mom hear your voices when she's like that? No.
Oh, I never know.
So you don't have any influence. Do you think your voice is there? I think so. Margaret,
You know, actually lately I've been hearing mine.
you have been in your voice,
Yeah.
and is it as strong as the others?
It's getting very loud.
What is that?
Tell me, shut the fuck up.
You think you will wake up?
I think so. I think I'm winning.
Tell you something, I don't think that you can do it alone.
So
But I'm not saying their voices. I think that unless your voice and your voice join in the choir of voices, she cannot do it alone.
But it's his job mainly to do that. He's her husband.
Lovely,
He should be
lovely.
louder.
You're absolutely right. And so he's not doing his job.
It's difficult to do a job, actually, if you're not, clued in to the voices. Like, she tells me about the voices long after the fact. It's like, closing the barn doors after the animals run out. I mean, it's pointless. Might as well leave the doors
I don't
open.
think he means that way.
Yeah. It's, I don't,
No, you just have to be, a little bit stronger in your character around me. The things that you do around me, not be a voice while the voices are going on. That's what he does. I mean, when they argue or whatever, that he just sits there. It seems like she's the king, as long as she really does she wants. And daddy should be the one to be the man and be like, no, you listen. I mean,
well, I've done that, haven't I?
Hector has changed in the past couple of months where he has been being more of that dominating voice that I need. He just needs to dominate. Not just to not that
Mom, explain to her what you mean by dominant voice.
His voice
Explain to her because
his voice is becoming stronger. He's becoming, no, this can't be done this way, or this is the way we have to do it, or maybe we should do it this way. The way he's saying things now is a lot different than it was. He's not being so passive. He's being a lot stronger than he has been in the past. To the point where sometimes I shut up when he's going off, Something has changed since we've been in the couples therapy. He's been more thinking about what he feels and worries a little bit more about what he's feeling than what others are feeling, because he's always worried about others people before himself.
see, the question is that your wife had always thought that she will break if she has stresses. And you learn to accept that. And you never then felt
From the
certain,
beginning.
you never felt certain that you could make demands. And you learn to quiet the voice, to make it softer and softer, with the idea that that is what you need from him.
To release the stress, I think I would take the stress and I would take the situation.
No, I want to be an equal partner.
This was the beginning, and all the therapy and everything went through fed right into it.
And it seemed as if maybe both of you has a threshold of stress after which you escape in different ways. You escape into the hospital and you escape on daydreaming or passivity or.
Yeah, it will be better. I just get lost. I just click on. That's another video.
So when you escape, I think she begins to hear voices. Your voices become stronger when you escape. Or when, even in this situation, where your escape was was not weak, just you were really sick and unable. But it is similar to other escapes that were psychological.
Yeah, there was no distinction. I was not there.
And then she goes into she goes into prison.
Yeah, I understand.
So it's clear that when she when her voices become loud, it is because you
I'm not so.
disappear.
As the session closes, Angela no longer has sole ownership of her voices. Hector's participation in Angela's hearing of voices has been described, and in the process, the interconnectedness of the spouses has been reaffirmed. Moreover, the way in which Dr. Mnuchin has described Hector and Angela's interconnectedness has suggested an avenue of possible change in the way they relate to each other. More than a year after the second consultation, Dr. Mnuchin met with Hector and Angela for a follow-up interview. During this period, Angela had had only a single brief hospitalization, a radical departure from the previous pattern. During the period, Danielle had become pregnant and given birth to a baby boy. At the time of the follow-up interview, Danielle, the baby, and the baby's father were living with Angela and Hector. Angela began the interview by talking about her newborn grandson.
Yeah, and my grandson.
Oh, yes.
This is what I factored.
You know, Sal's gotta see it.
I am embarrassed because I have a granddaughter and I don't have a picture.
I don't have a picture of my daughter and Angela.
That's all, Anthony. This is gorgeous.
He is beautiful. He is absolutely.
And it's a nice soft spring. He looks like
He
also has a question in his chin.
And also, he looks like her.
Isn't that lovely?
You think he looks like her?
Oh, he is very much.
How old is he?
He's
6 months now.
in 2-3 weeks.
Yeah.
He
And,
does look like you.
Yeah.
and what's good is that we're making a real impression on the kid.
Also, we've changed, I mean, the house setting is so different, but we take care of our stuff. Danielle cooks for, what's his face?
Yeah.
And Lou Anthony and herself, and they clean behind themselves. The living room is sort of like neutral territory. There's a television set there with a VCR, but everybody has to sit in their own room. We're all in our own rooms. We sometimes come out into the living room.
She finally heard me.
What do you mean? I finally heard you. What?
Well, I told you this business of cloistering yourself in the room and everything. I think,
Coming out a little bit more, yeah.
you see, because you would do this, you would lock yourself in the room and you impose a punishment on yourself. Then you say it's them. And it was never them, it was always you. You want, and it was a good idea, give them room, access living room, but you got into the state, look what they did to us, no one did anything to you. The house is yours.
I know, I know.
I know,
And
now
I
you
thought
know.
I started to feel claustrophobic a couple weeks ago. I said, screw this, I'm
Hallelujah.
coming out back out in the living room.
You know, I need to know because I have not seen you for over a year. And I noticed that Hector is very different than he was a year ago.
Uh-huh.
How did that happen?
I don't know, and all of a sudden a little bit of that Puerto Rican stuff came out of him there, and he started putting his foot down, and I'm like, okay, yeah, but
That is very different.
yeah,
It
I like to shut up. I tell you, Jesus.
is not, it is not an improvement.
Yes.
In what way?
And
Because, you know, I'm impressed with you.
it makes me feel protected and safe. He's taken in charge. He's being the man of the house. He's not being the doctor taking care of a patient. I am not a patient. I am his wife. And I'm trying to be his wife and do the things that I have to do.
I think it was because we were going to market and we were doing well.
We use
Margaret's
a lot of
But Margaret
things.
told us and they should point it out about it and,
Like what?
well, that I was being Angela's doctor or her father or her big brother protecting her and not being a husband. So I was not a husband anymore. So this altered our relationship as husband and wife. I became her caretakers. I protected her against her mother. I would do this for her. I would do that for her to keep her shielded from many bad things. And that's what I've been doing for these years. And my life per se was put on hold. And then I would put severe demands on myself. And that's where the Nazi came in when I had to go to work, I had to do this, I had to do that. And Margaret pointed this out to me. And
What would you use from Margaret? What did you use that changed your relationship with Hector, for instance?
Well, the idea that you kept on talking about how he was taking care of me and I wasn't being a wife. In reality, I wasn't being a woman. That's what I was hearing. And I just, Hector got sick. It was like I had to all of a sudden, somebody had to take care of the family.
What kept you together was the fact that you were you were needed.
Needed by the man I love.
Yeah, but that was something that didn't keep you before. So something very, very new happened in your relationship. I think that part of it was that you used to escape. If I remember correctly, as soon as she began to be upset, that upset you. And
I would just quietly retreat, where she did. Now, when she gets upset, I tell her, look, I don't need this. I tell her what up front. That's enough. And I just walk away. And I tell her, enough is enough.
okay, that's done. In order to do that, you need to have the certainty that she will not totally collapsed. Yeah. Right. How do you? Because I know she will not collapse. Because I no longer believe that she's nuts. Pure and simple. She's not crazy. She knows what she's doing. She knows
How
what's
long
going
did
on.
it take you to get that realization?
Huh?
How many years took
A long time.
As they themselves describe, it was the systemic therapeutic strategy of affirming and exploring their interconnectedness that had allowed Hector and Angela to discover unsuspected resources in their relationship with each other. And it was in turn the transformation of their relationship that had empowered the couple to break the pattern of repeated hospitalization that had for so long oppressed the family. Hector and Angela's upbeat tone during the follow-up interview gave simple and eloquent expression to the victory that this family had won over its legacy of multiple problems.
Well, back to Zoom. Okay. Alrighty. So in the last 20 minutes or so, yeah, curious what people thought of that video. What I liked about it was that here Mnuchin saw even though there were very severe symptoms, he saw that the conflict avoidance between the husband and wife helped to reinforce the symptoms. So when she started to act crazy, he would kind of slowly withdraw, and helping him to kind of stand up and feel like he had an ability to talk to her voices and have some power, helped her also feel like she was competent or more able to manage these voices. And Mnuchin started with saying that we all have voices in our heads. And he said something really interesting. He said, maybe yours is a skill or a disability. So he was sort of framing it as something unique, but not that entirely different. Okay. Yeah, any thoughts, any questions? About the video or about anything else that anybody would want to bring up in our last few minutes of this workshop.
I can share.
Yes, please.
I really liked this session. I was very touched emotionally by the change that we could observe and the connections that were made. And emotionally, I'm very drawn to this type of work and impressed kind of very warmly by what I saw. But I also experienced this thought process happening where I'm trying to understand kind of how to see the boundary between looking for interconnections and spreading the symptom between like all of the members of the family, etc., etc., and some other areas which might be more the focus of other approaches. For example, more of a psychiatric view of a disease that needs treatment, or more of a fighting the codependency, like this is your drinking problem, so don't be codependent. That's his stuff to solve. And I'm kind of having a question. I like what I see. I'm emotionally aligned, but then I also kind of feel a risk there. So I'm trying to find how can that risk be, differentiated, and how do we make those choices? When do we do interconnections and sharing of symptoms, and when do we fight, codependency and treat with medications?
Ah,
It's a very complex. It's not even a question. It's rather a
yeah,
response.
yeah. I appreciate that because it is complicated, and I think for me the goal is to hold both. That something can be both a quote unquote psychiatric problem, but also that it is part of a field of interrelated relationships and connections. So that it's never an either or, it's always a both and. So when it comes to medication, somebody like that needs to be on medication. If you have psychotic symptoms, medication is helpful. Um, and how do you understand the ways in which the environment and the relationships in that person's environment, how are they connected to the symptom? So I get that feeling of risk, but I don't think there needs to be a choice of either or. It's how do you hold both at the same time? And because that way, you're able to, the mom was able to experience herself as larger than just her symptoms. If she was just treated by a medical system that only views her psychotic symptoms as a biological disease that she is responsible for fixing, or that the doctors are responsible for managing, then everybody else is left out of that. And so the reality is yes, she does probably need to be on medication most of her life. And how does the environment affect things? So that is that's the craft of therapy, is to hold that complexity. Yeah, thank you for that question and thought. Other thoughts, observations, questions?
If it's possible, I'd like to share my. Sorry, I'm without video.
It's okay.
Um, while watching, I remembered about the case of Jung and about the moon lady or lady on the moon. And I felt that Minuchin seems like used something the same. I mean, he like joined her inner world with all these voices, and he could see the good intentions of everybody in this family, child, daughter, and husband. And yeah, could you maybe add something more about it if it's so, or maybe it's not so, like I felt it, like I saw it? Thank you.
Yeah, I think thank you. So I think I understood most of the your observations and thoughts there, and him joining with the thoughts and being curious about the voices um, was something that I think other therapists might avoid because we tend to think of these psychotic voices as bad, as evil, try to, but his being curious and open to them set the stage for kind of normalizing it and for acknowledging that these voices play a huge role in this family's life, whether they talk about it or not. So it's better to talk about it. um, I don't know if I think it was I don't know if you all know who Mr. Rogers is, but he was an American uh not Sesame Street. Yeah, no, Mr. Rogers. um, um, you could look him up if you don't know him. He said that if it's mentionable, it's manageable. So we should talk about the things that we're most afraid of. So Mnuchin, um, by mentioning it, he helped the family make it more manageable and less scary. And yes, he reframed people's responses as understandable ways of responding to something that is very hard and very difficult. And in that way, he tries to elicit the natural strengths of the family and each member, as opposed to the medical system, which might overly focus on what is bad or what is sick or what is wrong, right? And that needs to be changed, and we're the experts that need to come in and heal people or cure people, but rather his approach is, and the more systemic approach is, how do you activate and elicit these latent strengths in the family system and their natural tendencies toward love, toward wanting to connect, towards protection. So it's about eliciting these latent tendencies and strengths, and that is our role as therapists, which is a different way of working than other traditional therapies that are more problem focused and symptom reduction focused. So it is, as I think Anastasia said, like it feels risky to bring in that perspective, especially when we are brought up in a culture of learning or training that is symptom oriented and symptom reduction focused. So I can appreciate like trying to implement and embody this model is going to feel at times different and maybe therefore risky, or am I going against the grain in some ways? So I think it's very important to be alert to and aware of that feeling as it comes up. And to utilize that anxiety, to not avoid it, but to hopefully harness it. Yeah. Okay. Other final thoughts. I was gonna read something to you all from one of the books that I recommended. But if anybody, I'll let one other question or thought, and then I'll read the passage to you all to close. Okay. So I want to read a passage from the book Madness, Chaos, and Violence: Therapy with Families at the Brink. And this is by John Brendler, Michael Silver, Madeline Haber, and John Sargent. And these were key figures of the Philadelphia Child Guidance Clinic back in the 70s and 80s. And they worked in the program that hospitalized whole families. And this is a passage that I think is really important. It's called Precepts for the Therapist. Working with families who live at the brink of disaster pulls the therapist to the brink as well. We have formulated 10 precepts to help therapists manage the stress of crisis induction without sacrificing their flexibility, creativity, and sense of humor. Precept number 1 for the therapist: to be honest and clear with yourself and others about your needs and expectations. Do not abandon your principles under any circumstances. Number 2, believe that families are more competent than they appear. They present themselves to therapists at their worst, not at their best. Number 3, know your limits and what you can and cannot control. Number 4, take no responsibility for anyone else's behavior and take complete responsibility for your own. Number 5, take risks, embrace your mistakes, and forgive yourself for them, and encourage others to do the same. Number 6, resolve interpersonal conflicts directly as they arise. Number 7, have at least one close friend among your colleagues, someone with whom you can laugh easily and cry openly. Number 8, maintain a clear sense of priorities in your relationships. Personal relationships, family, friends, colleagues come first, and then the patient and the patient's family. Number 9, accept the thoughts and feelings of others unconditionally without trying to change them, no matter how painful they are. And attend carefully to what others tell you through their behavior. And number 10, feel free to challenge everything. So on that note, it's been my pleasure to connect with you all for the last 6 weeks or so. And yeah, thank you for your engagement. And I look forward to, who knows, any future collaborations. And I know there will be a second part to this in the coming months where it's focused specifically on case consultation. But until then, it's been my pleasure. And yes, okay. And take care of you all.
Thank you.
Bye.